Hey guys, Dr. Prometheus here. We're back with another Bills franchise video. This is going to be a live commentary going through what our team needs are, what the draft class looks like, kind of like my thoughts on where I'm going to go with the draft, and also some maybe a little hint of the players we could be targeting in free agency. I got a couple ideas. And typically they hit the market, and if they do, we'll look at the top 5 that I'm really looking at. So, without further ado, let's look at our lineup and kind of evaluate our roster from the start. Our offensive line struggled this season. Mainly, the left tackle was all right with Deion Dawkins. He's upgrading, but I mean, obviously our losses didn't help things and putting morale down to 34. But really, we have a line that, we got one that's 26, Quentin Spain's 29, and we'll start hitting that regression wall. Upgrading him any more than what he's at is going to be more difficult. Morse, the only star on here, is 28. We probably have we won't be upgrading him. We upgraded him once this season. At this point, we won't be upgrading him more than he already is. And although he's in the top 10, the regression bug will hit him over the next couple of years. It won't matter from there. Will Teller, 25. He was going into his 3rd year. Teller is decent at pass blocking, but not very good at the finesse, and he was beat in some parts of the year pretty bad. So I don't think this is as big of a need. He's only in his 2nd year. I think he was a Bills draft pick. Let me check this right quick. Got 2 years. He was picked in the 5th round. So for a 5th round pick in 2017 for the Bills, this is a decent pick. He's still on his rookie deal, so this is something we'll probably stick with at least. And then Ty and Niseki starting to hit that regression bug hard. We need another tackle. I mean, I think he's a good backup. Maybe can shift inside, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not going to be something we can go deep into. I think we have a good backup into Cody Ford here. So this is a pretty good idea of a guy that can come in, and he's pretty much the same stats as Niseki. His lead block isn't up there, his impact block, and his awareness probably isn't as high, but I mean, I would say this is probably on equal footing for a starter. Bodine, who's 28, not going to see the field, not really going to upgrade him there, and it's not really going to get better. Waddle, I think this contract was pretty bad for the Bills in retrospect. $2 million, he has one on it. His cap hits not too bad. We might look at who we will cut as well after we go through this. We'll look at some of the cap casualties we might end up having this season, but also the fact that, we have a lot of space, so not too bad. At tight end, Croft was so good, but I mean, acquiring him from the Bengals, upgrade wise, it's going to take a while. So we have a couple of younger guys. Jason Kroom, who is 1 year younger than Croft, it looks like. Yep. We're also going to see a little bit more of Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox, he's one of our Bills draft picks this past offseason. They brought him in, high draft pick, it looks like. Yeah, 3rd round. in 2018. So I think we're going to end up focusing more on Knox taking over for Chrome spot and seeing where we go from there. DeMarco played pretty good, but in the grand scheme of things, how I like to run my offense is I like a tight end to be the fullback. So when his contract's up, we're going to move on from him. Depending on how expensive his contract is, he might be a cap casualty. And I don't think we owe him too much money, so breaking that is not too bad. Who will we put there? Probably Jason Chrome. Impact blocking is decent from there, which is what we really do. Impact block is when you first hit the player, how hard, how good it is. Yeah. As for receiver, Cole Beasley and John Brown are both over 30. Cole Beasley is 31 and John Brown is 30. They were all right. It's just Cole Beasley is just not a prototypical number one receiver. He's a slot guy. And so that made it difficult having your two best receivers are pretty much slot guys, which made things a bit contentious at times throwing the ball downfield. But both of these guys are stellar players. Thing with it being that both of them were signed this past offseason, it looked like. John Brown getting $9 million a year. And when it comes to Beasley, buying him from the Cowboys probably wasn't too cheap. And yeah, that's $7 million for him until 2022. So decent bonus, cap hit is something we'll have to deal with. We do have Zay Jones though, and Zay Jones played decent last year. Or this past year, I mean. So if we go to another receiver set, we could see John Brown kind of flow down the depth chart and make him expendable. Zay Jones out wide. Maybe we put the rookie out wide if we do end up getting one, which we'll look at the draft class. And there's a couple I'm really looking at. Not first round picks, but this receiver draft is pretty deep. So we'll see focusing more on him. As for the other receivers, really nothing that really points out anything in my head. We had Yeldon go up to a star dev. He's only 26 years old. 88 speed. He is a decent halfback. And we could build around him. Like I was saying, he's only 26 years old. As for his contract, he's still on the roster for one more year and $1.64 million. So he's still on the roster next season, which makes it a possibility where we have to give him around $4 or $5 million if he asks for it. I'm not sure if I'm ready to pay that to a quarterback. Just not. Or I'm sorry, to a running back. I don't think I'm ready for that. We do have Gus Edwards, who we're going to re-sign. We took from the practice squad of Baltimore. He's pretty much the same type of player. 70 overall. A year younger, just doesn't have the dev trait, and he costs the same. So, with our running back core, what do we really do with this? We then have Frank Gore, who's 37, is going to get hit hard by the regression. And he's on the roster for one more year. I think this is going to be a cap casualty with Frank Gore. There's no real reason to keep him on the squad. It's $2 million. We'll have to see how much it actually costs to cut him. Then we have a rookie we brought in, highly tied out of FAU, Devin Singletary. He's only 22 years old, and I think we're going to use him more in this offense. I think we're going to use him more kind of how we do in our Bears franchise, where we have a typical 3-down back. Been using Montgomery with that. But when we're in a formation that's anything close to a passing formation, we put Singletary out there because we trust him more to get the ball, turn upfield, and create some distance between defenders in the passing game. It could really help, especially against mismatches. And in quarterback, we're not going to obviously change any of this. Josh Allen is the quarterback of the future, but there could be a possible move depending who's on the market. We have a lot of cap space, and I mean a lot. So, do we really pull the trigger and bring in a veteran? I mean a long-time veteran. I mean like a Super Bowl caliber veteran to come in for 1 year and really show us if this team is something we can work with. On defense, we're going to be building around Tremaine Edmonds, Ed Oliver, and Tre'Davious White. This is our defense right here. It is better, but not the best. I'm usually kind of used to a solid caliber defense like the Bears, and this is nowhere near anything like that, but we're building it. At the safety positions, Micah Hyde is getting up till 29. We may cut bait, thinking that we can trade Micah Hyde for a piece. Could be kind of intriguing. Good dev trades, gonna go up. Poyer, I think a guy doesn't really bring in a lot of trade bait, but we're rebuilding. And I think the two trades with these guys could net us some good players. Good players on the side of a slight draft pick. So say, I think from this aspect, we can get one that's, let's say somewhere around high 80s, but a young player, maybe in the low 80s, and a draft pick, maybe like a 4th round pick for Micah Hyde. I think we'll pull it off. We'll have to see what the trades really look like. Poyer, I don't think we're going to get anything like that. And so we may end up shifting Poyer over the free safety spot and going with a young player at strong safety. Maybe a draft pick. I am unsure of that. Like completely unsure of that. So going across, there's also a couple players we might use at strong safety that I'll kind of look at. I have to go into the roster menu for that. So then on the line, Hughes, older player. We did actually trade Alexander, I think it was. And I think we're going to keep Jerry Hughes until he regresses more. And I think we're going to use him on the outside. Across from Shaq Lawson a lot. Hughes played very good. Shaq Lawson was pretty good, especially in coverage. Kind of shocked me, honestly, for a guy who's 263 and has some decent coverage skills out there. I mean, his stats aren't great, but he was in some places making some moves out of the zone, which looked nice. Obviously, Tremaine Edwards we're building around, and then our second linebacker is going to be a question mark. And I'll tell you why it's a question mark. That's because we have some good free agents coming in that are about a year or two younger than Matt Milano. Milano being a pretty good linebacker, pretty good off-ball linebacker. And I do like that. However, we got some draft picks that are absolutely stellar, and it's a very deep linebacking core, and I think we can spend one's worthy of a top 10 pick. Maybe a couple are worthy of a top 10 pick. Going down the corner, obviously Tre'Davious White and nobody across from him. This is something we're going to target probably in free agency. Couple of players, Kendall Fuller, most importantly, 89 overall, that typically hits the market. And if he does, we are investing heavy and hard into bringing him to the Bills. That literally shores up the entire outside of our defense. And we can kind of slack off the safeties a little bit in that case. We won't have a fearless pass rush, but we have a mediocre pass rush that I can deal with. And on the outside, with those two players, with Tre'Davious White and Fuller, we can come in and really dominate the receiving core of both our division and whoever we play going forward. And we weren't that far off from the playoffs either. But I don't think Levi Wallace is really the answer. 25 years old, going to his third year. I mean, it seems like he is a good slot guy. But then again, Johnson's the same way. 24 in his second year. Good man, but then we have the other Johnson who probably going to be a cap casualty. I really don't like his stats. Then we go with EJ Gaines, bouncing around a couple teams, not that great. And then what we have here, we'll have to go over here and look at it. We brought in Stefan Denmark. 24, but he's a star dev. He typically goes very quickly into rising. 64 overall. His coverage ability is the issue primarily. Awareness as well. But I think he can ball. In this defense, the fact that he's got good jumping, decent catching, decent press, wow. Decent tackling for a corner, good agility, acceleration. He can come back if he's beat, things like that. I really think he could be someone in this defense, and he might end up being our slot. He might actually be our slot corner going into next year, depending. As for the line, at Oliver, obviously we're building around Phillips, who's 24 and is going to his third year. Phillips is a guy that could progress and could be a low 80 kind of player in our scheme, which I'm fine with. It would literally be like having another Trent Murphy on the line, and I'm all right with that, especially at nose tackle. Murphy is going to be a guy that maybe doesn't get a lot of trade bait whatsoever. And then we have a lot of reserves that aren't really going to do much. Aushka and Bo, pretty much, I think if we end up going with another kicker, we go with another one with high kick power. We'll have to see what's out there. Maybe we go for a rookie. But awareness and speed and all that stuff really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's all about kick power and kick accuracy, not too much. And I think we need to invest in a kick returner. We do, however, have Javon Wims, and I think he is going to get more of a presence on this offense. I mean, we might cut a lot of players going into the offseason and rebuilding this team completely. And I'm fine with that. Because Javon Wims really just needs some of his route running fixed. And he'll be a great receiver. And he's only a normal dev trait, so I think he has good hands too, which is good. Yeah, 83 and 83. Yeah, some good hands. Specialist, nothing new. And then all of our practice squad players are on our team. Don't worry about the Super Bowl. We will render this from from the wild card, so that's not going to be anything that is too big. Let's first look at what our salary looks like going in. Who could be cap casualties? So I'm glad that this was put in here. We kind of see who is going to be free agents. Dacus, Hashka, Bodine. This is the thing. Chrome is. So maybe we are in a market for a tight end that flips over the fullback, and our fullback is a cap casualty. Marlowe, Phillips, Gus Edwards. This is Maurice Alexander, I think it is. Derek Lacey, Waddle, Denmark, who we did sign off the practice squad from the Bears or free agency, one of the two. We will definitely be keeping him. Frank Gore be gone. We're going to re-sign Javon Wims. Johnson be gone. Gaines be gone. So corner really opens up a point where we can draft someone and maybe bring in a couple free agencies for competition. Yarborough's gone. Yarborough has one more year. So, looking at the biggest savings that we can have. Jerron Brown. We get $5 million back from that. Murphy, we get $7 million. Ooh. Croft, going down. This one is, we re-signed Shaq Lawson. That's right, last season. Long. I mean, this is something that I don't think it's really a big deal. We can go one more year. A reserve guy, so not worried about that. Putting Naseki is really not going to help. So, in that case, maybe we just keep him. Same thing with Hughes. If we can't trade him, we might as well keep him. That will be a huge penalty with that. Gus Edwards isn't going to be on the team as we go down. Wallace, we did re-sign him. White's still on his rookie deal. So this contract is going to be big when it comes due. We're kind of going down. We don't really get much in savings. See what the penalties are on some guys that don't have anything. I did see one that was $2 million. That's Gus Edwards. Going down. Here's another one that's $2 million, but Kukus isn't going to be on the team. Yeldon, we signed for cheap. So we have a couple things that could be good. And so in this, let's kind of see some of the players that I'm targeting. So the first one I saw that was big was Philip Gaines. Ndamukong Suh? Maybe? But ultimately, I think our big one for the Bucks, we might look at Bashard Perryman going into his 6th year. Good speed in the outside. We need to really stretch out the defense, but also kick return potential would be one. And maybe Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald in a slot position, even though he's not fast, his good catching skills could be helpful for this team. We'll have to see going forward. One thing I was thinking on was what to do if a guy like Austin Eckler is available. I was thinking about making a change here. Of going with Austin Eckler. 25, he'll be 2 years younger than Yeldon, I think. The biggest thing with Eckler, though, he's fast. He can catch the football. So from there, we use Yeldon in one aspect, and we use Eckler. Eckler becomes our main back. So this could be one guy that we could target. And then one other guy You also have Trevor Williams that we may target for a slot position as well. Good man coverage, good zone. But the biggest one that we're looking at on it is a couple players from the Chiefs. We had a good one from Darren Lee. He's fast. We'll have to look at the draft picks, how that matches up. But the biggest guy coming in to this is Kendall Fuller. 25, 4 years in the league, star dev, 89 overall, and amazing coverage skills. How much is he really going to ask for is probably going to be something that's way into our range, which I'm good with. We will overspend for Kendall Fuller, no doubt. We have a lot of cap space. So this is going to be our main target, and we might look at Austin Eckler, and there's a couple guys we may end up looking in the grand scheme of things. Particularly, we may take a crack at draft. So let's look at the draft. I didn't see a lot of corners. So let's kind of go through position. I haven't really scouted quarterbacks. We kind of know our quarterback situation. Josh Allen, or maybe a older 1-year deal with a quarterback like Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers or those sort of quarterbacks. Halfbacks, we have a lot of halfback picks here. Remember, we have Yeldon that's got one more year. We bring in Eckler. Gus Edwards. Singletary. Gore's going to be the middle one out. If we get another one, that will literally put a fifth back on the roster, which I'm fine with. In this, we'll just have to make a decision. Or maybe we roll with 5 and 1 becomes the fullback. And we instead roll with 3 tight ends instead. But for halfbacks, there's a lot of good guys in this. And the guy that I really like coming in here is Thurman Clark. Late first rounder, probably falls into the second, right where we are in that second round. Good carrying, juke, ball vision. He's an elusive back. But we also have some good draft picks later, like Richie Davis, receiving back out of Buffalo. A hometown favorite here. And he would go up in the early 4th, where we have 1 pick, but we also have 2 early 3rd round picks. So if we want to push up that, maybe we go with Ron Birmingham, who's 21, Tennessee receiving back. And it's pretty good, and he was going to be around a mid to late 3rd rounder. As for receivers, we have a lot of good receivers. Now, Bo is a draft story. He is going to be a mid first rounder. Do we trade up to get a receiver? I mean, if we do, 100%, this is our pick. If we trade back up, and I think we do, in the grand scheme of things. I mean, this is a guy that I would take a draft pick, and he is the best receiver on the board. But he likely goes pretty early, so trading back up to get that would be difficult. We do have Demarius Shields out of Georgia, who's probably going to go early. He's a mid-rounder. Then we kind of go into some of the second-tier receivers, and McAllister and Hills and Still, all are guys that are really good, it looks like. Especially Terrence Still, 6'1", 22, out of Michigan, deep threat. We'll have to see his speed. This could end up being the pick that we do. He's projected an early 3rd rounder, but his talent is a mid-1st rounder for receivers. So I think this guy would be like that 3rd pick, the first 3rd round pick. We have back-to-back picks in the 3rd round. Now for tight end. There is a big draft story with this one. And I believe it is Archer. I think it's just Archer, yeah. I think he's going to go early, though, and this is a pick I don't really want to use on a tight end this early, especially with Croft is a guy that we could use a lot. 4 left tackles, well, tackles in general. We might spend some late rounds really on tackles or offensive linemen. Adam Ambrose, I think he'll actually fall into the 4th round. He would be a decent one. Would be across the board, but there wasn't any tackles that really came off, really grabbed me. The George Woodbury. George Woodbury would be a prototypical tackle. He would be the one that I would literally draft. However, with the 6th overall pick, I don't think so. Unless we were to trade back a couple picks, picked up someone's 1st and picked up someone's 2nd, would we even have a remote chance of picking that up? And that is hoping he falls as well. Same thing with Madison Furio, 21 years old. He's a first left guard in the draft. We'd have a better chance of getting someone at right guard and transitioning him over. And there's a good one in Perry Hicks, who's likely going to last anywhere from the early 2nd, mid 4th. I think he's around mid 3rd round pick, depending on how the guards go, and that's fine. Another mid 3rd round pick, maybe drop to the 4th, and Perry Hicks is really ours, and maybe we shift him over from there. I don't think Julius O'Neal really survives into the 3rd round, but it's possible. As for centers, if all doesn't go to plan and he falls, Brody Holloway could be a guy that we shift out to a guard position, but I feel pretty confident at center. So going over on the defense, Joey Slade, he isn't going to fall. He's going to be a top 10 pick. And we don't really need a left end as bad as we can use some linebacker positions. I believe we're good at corner, especially we'll be good at corner if we end up getting Fuller. So I think this is a pick that's of a convenience and need as opposed to best player available. Plus we got 2 guys here that's probably going to go up if Weeks actually falls into the 2nd round. That's really our pick there. But the biggest thing is Jalen Locke surviving into the 2nd or 3rd round could be a pick we take later. And I think this is more reasonable for a draft pick than anything. We also have Javier Torres, late 1st round pick. I'm sure he'll be picked somewhere in the mid rounds. At 21 years old will be a good thing. But he's a speed rusher at 252. So, I mean, he's not a prototypical lineman that we really have at end. This is a guy we'd have to kick out to the side. And maybe we do that. If we have a chance to crack at Javier Torres, we put him out that outside linebacker position behind Hughes, and he either sits out or plays. So maybe he overtakes Hughes. You don't know that. Defensive tackle. I love our defensive tackle alignment. When we are in a 4th, technically not a base 3-4. But we're in a 2-4 scheme set up, so that's 2 linemen. Because that's Ed Oliver and Murphy. Bringing in a guy like Bennett Mabin could be big. He's going to go top 10 now. There's no way he survives better than Maurice Harrison or Terrell Peel. But Terrell Peel, he looks good. A lot of people are going to come off. But really what I'm shooting for is none other than Von Hoskins. Von Hoskins, he had a draft story as being one of the top players in the All-Star game and one of the top players in college. He's a pass coverage guy, good tackling. This is a guy that we're not going to use, obviously, at a left outside linebacker position, we would put him in the middle and have him team along Tremaine Edmonds, and this would be a huge pick. He's going to go top, and if he's there at 6, I think we take him. I don't think we trade down. I think we take him because he looks like a player that is a stellar player. It kind of reminds me of a lot of some of the draft stories. I think he actually had 2 draft stories. But he said he was great in coverage, obviously. It kind of reminded me of a typical guy we had in Chicago who's now a Hall of Famer. That would be Brian Urlacher. I feel like that coverage with that weight, that height, that age, he could be a focal point in this defense. There was a couple speed rushers where we could kick out that could last into the second round if speed rusher isn't a quick thing. So we could see that. The other guy was Wes Hughes, and he didn't have a draft story. Or yeah, he had a draft story, but they said that he struggled a little bit early on in the season. And for a first round pick, it'd be nice. But this is our guy. Von Hoskins has to be our first round pick. 6th overall. Kind of skimming through here. Obviously, we're going to be scouting in our live stream. But from here, it's pretty prototypical there. For corners, I did see that was a couple that were decent going into the second round, but I didn't see much going deeper in the round. So that's really what says, hey, you need to get Kendall Fuller at this. The best corner that's even any later is Nathan Bynes out of Virginia Tech, 23 years old. Good zone coverage. He's really going to be a slot corner more than anything. And then kind of the same thing for Banta, because there's no way in hell we have an ability to go over Michael Dawson, who was the Heisman Trophy winner. I don't think he lasts there. It could be a weird thing where we can trade up to get him, but if we end up getting none other than Kendall Fuller, this really makes this pick a redundancy. You don't really need it. As for safeties, there are some safeties deeper in this round, which are nice. Conrad Ederle. Ederle had a decent time in the game that was later on in the season. But I mean, this seems like more of a up-in-the-box safety than anything, than him actually being good deep. However, his development at 21 years old, if we draft him, that kind of spells the end of Hyde in Buffalo. Or Poyer, one of the two. But we have some safeties that go deep in here. Chuck Cates, 22 out of TCU, zone archetype, good zone coverage guy. This could be a good pick around the 4th round where we have that's our lone 4th round pick there. So yeah, there is the roster. I kind of want to see how much we have in salary for next season. I don't think we can get really an exact number because we have 39.3. Let's go one more week. Obviously, we're going to be scouting and stuff like that. I want to see the re-sign period and see exactly how much that we have when we go into the re-sign screen and I pick someone to re-sign. Gus Edwards, Javon Williams, Denmark, and Hoshka. Sounds about right. So $40.1 million is what we have. $40 million in cap space to make some splashes, and I think we can do that. So yeah, thank y'all for joining me in this little sim thing. The Saints won the Super Bowl. It won't matter too much because we'll be figuring out who wins the Super Bowl again. Then, and I'll give you a little sneak peek. Give you a little sneak peek of what it looks like in the free agency. Who knows? It'll be the same. I like a little sneak peek. $42 million. Kendall Fuller. He only wants $11 million a year. It's a little sneak peek for you guys. So our two best players in there, one wants $4 million for 5 years, the other one wants 10. That's only $14 million right there out of our $40 million. So that is a good one there. And we have some good tight ends out here as well. So we could have a big offseason with this money. Yeah, thank you all for joining me. I will see you guys next time. Go ahead and hit that like button below and subscribe so you don't miss any more of this franchise. Little sneak peek into free agency and stuff like that. It's going to be a little bit long for the 40 minutes going through this. And I will see you guys next time after this preview. I will kind of figure out when I'm going to do the live stream, because it is Tuesday, or actually it's Wednesday today, and both the franchise video and this video will be going up, so we will be doing it soon over on Twitch. We'll live stream this off season. We'll go through it. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.